Hi, I'm Andrew from the Janua team. This is part one of a three-part training course designed to help you structure decision-making in your organization. Improving how you make decisions is the best way to improve the outcomes of your decision-making. In part one, we will look at the importance of decision-making in an organization. In part two, we will learn about the various decision-making frameworks, including the process, roles, and responsibilities. And then in part three, we'll see how Janua decision flow software makes the implementation of a decision-making process simple and easy. Let's get started. Decision-making is an inescapable part of running a successful organization. It's important to realize that decision-making is actually a process. As you set about making a decision, there are some important principles to keep in mind. The starting point is, what is the objective of the decision? Be clear about what you are trying to achieve. Second, be clear about who is making the decision and who isn't, and who's going to be involved in the decision-making process. Knowing who to involve and how to involve them is critical for the decision-making process. Some people will provide analysis, some will provide approvals, and others will simply be informed. Risk mitigation is an important part of decision-making, and to do this you need to reduce ambiguity, gather relevant data, and do appropriate analysis. And once the decision is made, it needs to be clearly communicated to the right audience. They need to understand what decision was made and why. Finally, you need to review that decision in the event that new data becomes available and perform a retrospective review after implementation is complete. We do this to capture the lessons learnt and the mistakes made. All decision data should be captured as it provides a valuable decision register for audit and review purposes, while also building a valuable knowledge base for the organization. In the decision-making process, the first task is to clearly outline the decision to be made. To achieve this, consider essential questions such as the intended outcome and the specific metrics to be achieved. Then, consider the impacts that this decision might have on the organization, its customers, and stakeholders. Next, identify the available options and their potential alternatives. Set timelines for when the decision must be made by, and timelines for significant supporting tasks, such as when the analysis for the decision must be complete. Failure to define the decision adequately may result in unclear objectives, potentially leading to poor choices. Inadequate consideration of alternatives could mean overlooking valuable opportunities. Additionally, a lack of clarity regarding timelines and involved parties increases the risk of confusion and frustration during the decision-making process. Assessing the decision. When you are preparing to make a decision, you need to assess the type of decision before taking action. Decisions vary greatly, so how do we assess them before making a start? Broadly speaking, decisions can be assessed based on the size or complexity of the decision and the urgency. Every day, each one of us makes thousands of decisions. Most of them are small and inconsequential. For example, what clothes to wear or what to have for breakfast. Making these decisions is easy, and the consequences of making the wrong decision are low. In organizations, small, non-urgent decisions can usually be made quickly by individuals or small groups. However, as we move into more complex and urgent decisions, perhaps strategic or tactical, we need to assess how to proceed. Large and urgent decisions can have a big impact, so having the right people involved is important. In these decisions, In addition to appointing a decision maker, you may also need certain stakeholders to approve the decision. For mid-sized decisions that are not highly urgent, a different, usually smaller group of stakeholders is required. Involving stakeholders. As you plan your decision making, there are going to be stakeholders who you need to involve in the process. Ensuring you have selected the right stakeholders and have secured their commitment to be involved is a critical success factor for good decision making. People are busy, and getting them to agree to participate can be a challenge. So you need to ensure that you are clear with them about their role and their responsibility in the decision-making process and the timelines. You also need to convey the benefit of their involvement. Getting the right stakeholders involved early will help to identify risks and opportunities much earlier in the decision-making process. By getting their input sooner, you're going to start building support and buy-in for the ultimate decision you're trying to make, and their support will extend through the implementation phase. There are various tools and techniques for involving decision makers and getting stakeholders to provide their perspective. Some organizations use standardized decision-making templates or business cases. Some may run regular decision meetings, while others have project plans with staged decision points. A growing number of organizations use decision-making frameworks to structure their decisions. These include the RACI matrix, Bain's Rapid Framework, DACY, and the advice process. These frameworks provide structure for the decision-making process, as well as roles and responsibilities. So as you approach a decision and assess stakeholder involvement, be aware that there may be challenges to getting the right people involved, but the benefits of getting it right will offset that. And use a framework to help the organization understand and structure the decision-making roles and responsibilities. Reducing risk in decision-making. Risk and decision-making go hand in hand, so reducing risk should always be a goal. One way to avoid risk is to include more people in the process. This results in more information and perspective. It also helps with early buy-in to the decision. But be aware that involving additional people can cause delays. Another way to reduce risk is to extend the timeline available to make the decision. More time may help resolve ambiguity as things become clearer, or additional research becomes feasible. The third way to reduce risk is to break decisions into smaller decisions that can be spread out. When using any of these methods, it's always important to find a balance between risk, uncertainty, and timelines. We may not always have the luxury of time for our decisions. Communicate, implement, and review. Once a decision has been made, it must be communicated, then implemented, and finally reviewed. The communication must clearly articulate what decision was made, who made it, and why it was made. Help people understand the goal of the decision and how the success of the decision will be measured. For example, if we make a decision relating to customer interaction, we want to measure their feedback to the change so that we can track progress on the decision's stated outcomes. Tracking implementation is important for risk mitigation. In the event that the decision is not delivering the expected results, we need to be flexible to review and revise the decision. In the event that the decision is not delivering the expected results, we need to be flexible to review and revise the decision. Organizations often make similar decisions from time to time due to the nature of their work. For example, a mining company might decide to open a new mine every few years. Deciding which site to mine may be a unique decision, but aspects of the decision will be similar to previous such decisions. Having retrospective reviews from past decisions will provide them with a valuable knowledge base, helping them to learn from past mistakes and capitalize on previous good decisions. Performing a retrospective review of each significant decision helps strengthen the organization's decision-making muscle, making them better and better decision makers over time. This concludes part 1.